Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7, and we're back with possibly the best experience that I've had on Gran Turismo in a very long time, and that's including GT Sport and other games. So this was the Manufacturers Championship at High Speed Ring, and we had some weather in the race, and obviously this was slightly dynamic in that the weather could change depending on what race you were in. There was other races that went on during the day, and other people had different weather during that day. So yeah, it was really exciting. So this was a qualifying session. I started qualifying on the intermediate tyres, and that was probably the best way to go for qualifying, but you had to get your lap in nice and early. So this was our first lap out of the pits. You can see going on that really wide line through that corner. That is where the grip is at High Speed Ring. I'm not sure if they're going to do something to stop people doing that, but that currently is the fastest line through there because of the banked corner. Now, there is one thing that I will point out on this later on in the video. It's to do with the drying line. I remember on the State of Play video, they did state that as the cars drive over the track, they dry the line. This is false. Basically, the drying line is predetermined. It's a predetermined part of the track that dries. It's not based on where cars drive over. Highlighted by the fact that a lot of us in these lobbies are driving on that very high line because that's where it's faster. And you're going to see something later on to show you that, yeah, basically, it's a little bit of a lie they told us on the State of Play event, but do you know what? It's not going to matter at the majority of tracks because it is actually going to be pretty accurate at the majority of locations. But yeah, we're going to go over this line and we're going to get a 1 minute 20.9 in, which was actually an okay lap. It was better than our first attempt. This was a second attempt at this race. So yeah, I think we were starting down in P5. So we had some quite fast drivers. We had, as usual, the Mazda on pole position, especially in this combination. Four-wheel drive, always going to dominate. BMWs looks very strong here as well. McLaren also very strong for myself there in P5. And yeah, let's see what we can do from this P5 position. So yeah, remember, if you do enjoy these videos, get subscribed to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know how your races went with regards to the conditions and whether it was dry. Some races I heard were almost fully dry, just a little bit of rain, and then pretty much dry throughout the whole race. This race was starting pretty much heavy rain. You can see there on the radar at the moment. I'm starting on full wet conditions because we've got heavy rain around on the radar, and yeah, it would have been too risky to start on intermediate tyres, I felt. So yeah, some people though were able to, in some races, able to start on them intermediate tyres. I think it all just depended on how wet the track was and the radar when you actually joined it. So you can see we're behind P4. Starting P5, we're just going to try and hold on to this position at the start. Try not to make anything stupid moves or anything. Just try and keep it nice and smooth. Again, taking that wide line through there. Not perfect. Really, you want to run up all the way up onto that green bit of tarmac on the right-hand side there to get the best exit. But again, into this corner, we can see P4 looking a little bit slow through there. We're going to try and find a good exit for this corner. Now, keep an eye on Nico up ahead. You're going to see him take some very unusual lines through these corners. You see he's going very wide and then coming off the corner very wide. So actually works out that is a better way of doing that corner. Kind of taking the wet line there in these conditions is actually faster. Whether it's faster in the dry doing that line, I'm not too sure, but yeah, at the moment Nico seems to be gaining quite a lot on the exit of that corner. So we're going to go into this final corner, and again, going up high is where the grip is on this corner as well as the other corner we're talking about. So you can see most people in this lobby going all the way to the outside of the track and following all around the edge using the camber of the track to take more speed. Now we're going to get the slipstream from P4, and we're going to actually go for a move on it. So we're going to go to the left-hand side of the track because hopefully the cars in front are going to come over to the left as they go through this long left-hand corner. And we take that position up into P4, and now we're going to get the slipstream of the two BMWs that are in front of us. They're both fighting their way through this corner. This corner pretty much flat out in these conditions, but you can see at the moment the track is actually getting to full wet conditions now. So that heavy rain that we've got at the moment is pushing it into the full wet. So these two are going to go side by side through here. You're going to see that Jack is going to lose out on momentum on the exit because of the line he took. So we're going to go to the left to do an overtake. We've got another McLaren on our left that he's going to back out of that and give us a space there. And we're going to go around the outside of Jack in that BMW. So yeah, taking another position there and up into P3 in this race. And again, the replay is looking absolutely amazing with this weather and dynamic conditions. It looks absolutely brilliant. I can't wait for more races like this. These type of races are going to be a game changer for GT7. They've just got to get some service stability sorted, give us more chances to do these races. Hopefully a daily race with these kinds of conditions would be absolutely perfect, so we could just have a random race that doesn't go as wet as we would expect, and maybe would have been better starting intermediate, stuff like this. I'm really looking forward to this for daily races as well as the GT World Series. So yeah, got a bit of a gap now to P2. You can see that Nico on the straight there. The BMW on the straight is a monster. That car on straight line acceleration is probably the fastest in the game. However, it is a tricky car to drive, I have to say, that BMW. In slower corners and in more like high-speed corners, I think McLaren's probably better, because the McLaren's a lot more stable. It's got so much grip, it's got a lot of traction, whereas that BMW does require a lot more patience when driving. So yeah, they're not probably that massively apart between the BMW and the McLaren, I think, in terms of how good they are. But the Mazda is in its own little league, I think, for these kind of conditions, with the four-wheel drive, the top speed, the acceleration. That car was always going to be pretty dominant. But you can see we're managing to get into the slipstream of Nico there, so we've managed to gain a little bit of time on this lap. But again, through here, you can see that line that Nico takes compared to myself. I'm going in on the normal line, he's going very wide out there, same as the Mazda in front of him, and they're getting better exits off the corner. So that line definitely seems to work better for the corner, at least in the wet conditions. So it's really interesting that. Now, I was watching him do it, and at the time I was thinking, right, we will start doing that eventually, but we can't just, I didn't want to just start doing it straight away, just in case we make a little error here or there. But yeah, down the main straight, you can see, again, staying in the slipstream on top speed. I think in 7th gear, the McLaren's not too bad. It seems to fall a bit of speed back. But on the early part of the acceleration, that's where it loses all the speed. But you can see, again, this is the line that you take through this corner, almost onto as close to the barrier as you can physically get on that right-hand side. It really carries more speed through the corner. You can see we've actually got a nice gap to P4 and 5 at the moment. We've actually built that gap up to 2 seconds. So at the moment, this race is going really, really well. We're holding on to the slipstream to Nico. Still not doing the best line through there. I really needed to do that line because there was so much more grip on that outside line. We did know this from Tsukuba though, when we did Tsukuba in the single player. We did find that there was a little bit more grip on the outside lines in wet conditions. So maybe they've implemented that in. I'm not 100% sure yet. It could just be the natural lines on this track because, as you can see through here, even in dry conditions, you take really unusual lines on this track. So it just could be the banked corners that are causing that issue. But you can see we're on lap 4 and we're just about to lose the slipstream at the moment to Nico. You can see on the straight we're starting to lose it a little bit. So we're going to skip ahead to the midway through lap 5 here now. So, well, coming to turn 2 on lap 5. And you can see we're pretty much back into the slipstream. So we were able to hold on at this stage. You're going around on the outside in the full wet conditions. McLaren felt pretty good, I have to say. It felt pretty strong. And I think at the moment, in my view, McLaren might be the overall best manufacturer in terms of how easy the cars are to drive, and at the majority of tracks how good they are. So they're close to being up there, but like Mazda obviously doesn't have a Group 3 car as good as McLaren. BMW doesn't have a Group 3 car as good as McLaren. McLaren at the moment I think is probably the best overall manufacturer, I would say. So we're going to skip ahead to lap 7, and again you see we're starting to fade off. We've dropped down quite a bit from the battle at the lead there. We've lost that slipstream. We've got the gap to Longer behind us, who's managed to get ahead of the car. He started quite far back and has actually fought his way through in another McLaren. And we look ahead, and Nico has made a mistake. He's gone off the track and into the barrier, and we're going to try and go around the outside of him. Now we're on that preferred line, which gives you better exit speed, and you can see we get a lot more grip this time, able to go into 4th gear, get on the throttle, and we get much better exit speed. So that wide line definitely does work on that corner, but trying to get yourself used to doing it is another thing. So, but at least we know about that wide line for next time we come to this race in the wet conditions. We know that that wide line is the way to do it. But yeah, we're up into P2 now. P1 is way too far ahead, 4.2 seconds ahead, and they're pulling away. But we've got a lot of cars behind us. You can see there on the bottom right hand corner on the replay camera, you can see like 6 or 7 cars in that train behind us, gradually at different gaps behind. So we're going to skip ahead to lap 9, pretty much halfway through this race, and you can see that Longer behind us in the other McLaren is very, very close now. He was really, really flying around this high-speed ring, I have to say. He had an amazing pace, but he's going to bump draft us here. You can see he's going to give us a bump draft and help us along our way and boost us, because also he wants to try and defend that position from Nico, who's behind him. So he knows how fast that BMW is on the straight, so he's trying to defend that position, give us a bit of a bump draft, and then through this section we're a little bit stronger than that BMW. So I think what he was planning to do is work together, get the gap enough away from Nico, and then get past us, and then maybe try and see if we can get close to P1. Possibly also trying to bump draft us to see if we can catch up to P1, because at the moment with this bump draft we go through with a purple sector, so we're actually on quite a good lap, so it's clearly working. And you can see on the delta actually, I think we gained 2 or 3 tenths on this lap alone. Now, if you have a look at the radar, you can see that the weather is starting to fade off now. You can see we're back into full intermediate conditions pretty much, but we're on full wet tyres. But there was no point pitting at this stage of the race because the pit stop you lose about 30 seconds or so. So there was no point going in the pits and changing tyres. But you can see on that radar there now, we've got almost complete dry conditions on some part of the map. So it could be a situation where this track is going to really dry out. And what you'll start seeing here is that dry line that's a little bit false because it's not really based on where you're driving. So we're going to go to the left hand side of the track here again, and Longer is going to give us a bump draft down the straight again. You see we go over the line with a pretty good lap, and now we're going to continue doing this for a few laps, and then Longer, I think, as we come through the final corner on lap 12, he's going to give us a bump draft here, but I think he felt like the gap was enough away from Nico now, and he's going to probably try and go ahead of us. So again, he gives us a bump draft there, and then I think he's going to go for the move this time. So this time he goes over for the move. You can see we're both going over with purple lap time, so we were gaining. We got the gap. We gained a second on P1 at this stage for working like this. However, I don't think we were gaining enough of a time to really catch him up in the remaining laps, and I think Longer thought, right, I'm going to get past now, and we're going to do the same to him. So we're going to give him the bump draft and help him out in this situation. Again, going through here, we've got the gap to Nico around 6 tenths. So at the moment, if we stay in the slipstream, we should be able to hold on to a podium position. So it's all about just trying to hold on at this stage. Again, we're going to give him another bump draft. And what I noticed was the slipstream felt a little bit stronger in these conditions than it did in full dry conditions. I don't know whether that's, you know, they did state that weather conditions will have an effect on slipstream, but when you were really close to the car in front in these conditions, it really did seem to boost the car forward. So again, working together, might as well. He was working with us, so we're working with him to try and see if we can secure a good position in this race. P3 would be very high points. This is obviously top split, and what you can see there through the final corner, you might have seen it as we were fast forward, and again was that dry line. That's a little bit false because we're all going very high. You'll also see it as we go through into turn 2, how that dry line is not in the right place, because like I said earlier in the video, the dry line is predetermined. It's drying in a predetermined way. It's not drying based on where people are actually driving. So if you keep your eye onto the next corner as we come through here now, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see as we're going to the right hand side of the track, we're going all the way around the right hand side here. Look at the dry line on the left. It's drying out on the complete wrong part of the track. No one's been driving on that part of the track. So yeah, they did sell us a little bit of a fib with that state of place, stating that it dries out based on where the cars are driving. That is not true. It's predetermined, but I don't think it's a big issue. I'm sure that as long as it dries based on how hard it is raining or how little it is raining, as we have a lovely little battle here with Nico R. He sends one up the inside. We counter that move. He hangs it round the outside. Really respectful driving. Almost 2 inches apart from the car there, but really fun racing, and he gets that move done, and we drop down to P4. But yeah, hope, like I say, as long as it dries in a proper way to based on how much it's raining, then I don't really have a problem with that. Obviously with time accelerated, it's going to drive a little bit faster. However, as we go through the final corner, Nico, after getting the move done, just makes a very unusual mistake, goes straight into the barrier on that long right-hand corner, long left-hand corner, and just loses that position straight away. So straight back up from P4 to P3 we go, and now we're going to have to try and hold on. Now what I noticed as well was another four-wheel drive car coming through the grid. We see Somi there in P5 in the Nissan GTR. He was in the GTR, and he is catching really fast. So it does seem that four-wheel drive cars in these conditions were very strong on the game. Obviously pretty obviously we're going to be, but like I say, the McLaren doesn't look terrible. It looks like it can compete, and it's actually quite good that we've got an MR car competing with some of the four-wheel drive cars, and we've got an FR car behind us. So it's just a case of getting that BOP sorted. I really hope that PD can put some time and effort into getting this BOP where it's at, because if they can get it right, this game has got so much potential, especially with these dynamic conditions. But you can see at the moment the track is really drying out now. We're almost in dry conditions and we're on full wet tyres, but we cannot pit, because if we pit now we're going to lose far too much time. But you can see as we come out of the tunnel again, look at the telemetry on the tyres. You can see we're only just over the like just onto the intermediate conditions. So this is definitely intermediate conditions at worst now. It's almost approaching full dry conditions. Now we're obviously taking that wide line there where everyone's been driving. That's a little bit wetter again. Trying to drive onto the wet lines every now and then, because we don't know whether, I wasn't sure whether tyre temperatures were affected when you're on wet tyres. So you can see through here, both me and Nico taking that wide line. Somi going for a move on the unorthodox line, nearly making it work, but it gets no exit speed off the corners. Now they're battling behind us. This is great for me. We've got a couple of laps to try and hold on to this podium position. With them battling behind me, this is working out really well. And actually, at this stage of the race, we started to find a little bit of pace, because with this line drying through here, my lines that I was taking were actually becoming a bit more effective, because the dry line was actually a little bit faster now. So you can see there, we're going faster through personal best. We actually gained a little bit longer on this lap here. You can see where obviously your normal lines were starting to work. However, this line is always going to be faster on high-speed ring, going really wide on the outside there because of the way the corner is. It's just the way to take that corner. That's understandable. I'm surprised that PD didn't factor that in, and obviously with the fact that it's sloped, you'd think that the water wouldn't be settled up that high as much as well, especially with us driving there. You would have thought they would have thought of that when it comes to the drying line on high-speed ring. But yeah, as we come through here, again, we're going to go up high and then just turn in, get onto that dry line. Now the tyres were becoming a little bit awkward on this section of track, because we're almost on full dry conditions as we're driving on this part, but we're keeping that gap behind us. You can see Nico 7/10 behind, and it's getting really, really intense. We've got 2 laps to go. We've just got to keep this car on the track. They're battling behind us, so you can see it in the mirror and on the replay camera. They're fighting, and this is working out well for me. If we can hold on to a podium in this race with these changeable conditions, it's really going to be a good result. And again, we're going through this sector with a personal best lap time. You can see that Longer on a much better lap this time, actually gained a few tenths on us so far. And again, through here, trying to take that normal racing line. You can see Nico still going quite wide there, but I don't think it's working as well for him now that the conditions are changing. We seem to get a little bit of a boost through that corner. So at the moment, holding on, we're going purple through there. So at the moment, we're on to a personal best and obviously a purple lap for the whole race. Again, into the final right hand corner. We're coming up to the final lap of the race now. Just try and hold on in these very unusual conditions. And this is the type of race that we've always wanted on Gran Turismo. This is what we've always waited for. And I have to say, so excited that this is now in the game, because I think this is a game changer for GT7. Especially if they have some like slightly longer races in the future, 30 to 40 minutes, maybe 45 would be amazing, with dynamic conditions, track drying out, maybe slightly shorter pit stops as well to make the strategies a little bit more interesting. I don't think they need to be really short like they used to be. Just around 15 to 16 second pit stops would actually make some more interesting strategy calls. As we look on the mirror there, how close this is for the final podium position. We're just trying to hold on as much as we can. We know that this corner here in the McLaren, very, very strong. We get enough of a gap off the exit there, and as we look behind us, Somi is going to go for the move on Nico, and that is perfect for us, because if they start battling through here, that should mean that we should be able to hold on to this final podium position. So I can see them in the mirror, and I have to say this was really intense when we were doing this live. I just was dying to hold on for a podium position in this race because the points were pretty good. So off that corner, good exit there. Now we're going to drive for one final corner. We just got to make sure that I do not hit the barrier on this final corner up here. So again, we're going to take it through here, take it too smooth. We're going to take it quite smooth. We're not going to go too aggressive. Down to 5th gear, then just get on the throttle nice and early. You can see Nico gaining a little bit on that final corner. However, we get quite good exit speed, and this should be a podium position for our first proper race in these wet conditions. So very, very happy with that. We go over the line with a P3 and some pretty solid points, I have to say. Some really good points from that race as well. As you can see, the lobby was quite competitive. Some very, very fast drivers in there. So yeah, overall, loved that race. Probably my favourite race in a very, very long time because of the dynamic conditions, the changeable weather. Really made a huge difference to the way the game played out. So yeah, P3, we gained 2 positions, and also we gained quite a nice amount of points. We managed to come away with, I think it was 380, let's have a little, 380 points from that race. So yeah, that was some nice points to add to our Manufacturers Championship. If you did enjoy that video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what your race was like, what the conditions was like. I'm really interested to see. But yeah, I will see you all again for another video. Bye everyone.